Welcome back to Sagas of Sundry Quests and Answers. I'm Dan Casey, and today we're taking you inside the latest episode of Goblin Mode. And folks, this was a doozy. Knack Breer rules. If you don't know what that means, you've not watched the episode yet, and there are spoilers ahead, so go at your own peril. As I mentioned before, I'm Dan Casey, and once again, I am joined by
Danielle Radford,
Amy Vorpahl,
Jason Nguyen,
and we're going to talk about the latest episode of Goblin Mode. Folks, this episode was a lot of fun. Some big lore moments, some deeply silly moments. So where do we want to start?
I just want to start with all y'all like really leaning into the fact that you have not been out in the world for 5 years and just like playing that up so far. Whereas like any mode of conversation or words that came out of another being's mouth were questioned in a very meaningful way and then responded to equally meaningful. Like for instance, I do want to talk about Danielle making Busy making the big leap to go ahead and go, I'm gonna try to be a human.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, like Busy doesn't, obviously we don't know a lot outside of Unzug's lair, but what Busy does know is that Busy's terrifying because that's like her entire deal, that's her job, thank you very much. And so she was like, well, this is like probably like my first chance to really like get into it with someone outside of the dungeon. Busy's like curious, she's seeing a lot of stuff she hasn't seen before. And so she's like, is someone going to come, like is this a gallantling that's going to come and like murder us and steal our bones? Like, is there a way to stop that from happening by talking to this person or like just kind of getting to like learn how people do? And that's why she was like, well, if I want to learn like a people, I will dress like a people. So she put on her magic people suit, and to like go and have the conversation. Because that's really like her motivation is like, I want to make sure we're not about to like get ambushed, that this isn't an ambush or anyone lying in wait, and also kind of just like, hey, new world, get to learn more about it, like get an idea of what we're kind of dealing with.
As like the dungeon master, there was a part of me that was like, this could easily be like, oh, gallantling, like if they're like, that's a gallantling dead, you know, and it's really interesting to me going like, oh, obviously you all are lovely people and just have like lovely instincts, so if that's transferred onto characters, equally great, you know, but it could have gone either way, and just to know that like, oh, I've got some feeling minions here, some emotional like minions looking for connection is really cool.
Oh, I like the it almost went that other way.
It really did. Let's be honest. Like one of us at this table was very interested in the chaos.
Listen. Like you said, like these guys haven't been outside in a very long time, and so you know they've been walking across the desolation, haven't seen anybody, and now there's suddenly a human, and you know they're holding weird things. Tippy doesn't understand what's going on, and the funny part, of course, these idiots didn't talk about like how to communicate with each other. You know what I mean? This is their first time in this position.
We'd have to make a plan like this.
Tippy was just like trying to look out for his friends. That's all he cared about. He didn't want his friends to get murked by some random human wizard lady.
Yeah.
I did think it was going to be a setup at first. I did, like, just based on what she was doing, it felt like very much like, oh, is Amy like showing us that we really shouldn't trust other people out in the world?
Yeah, and
I was
that's
like, newsflash, Tippy doesn't.
Yeah.
and that's another reason for like the thing, because it's like, oh, if it's a gallantling and they see like a skeleton coming at them, they're immediately gonna get like real fighty.
I think a lot of saves or like ability checks, like perception of the bird was, she just believed that, and egg on her face, I suppose. But yeah, there was just a lot of good saves and dice rolls that kind of went in your favor, but also
that was my one good dice roll.
Yeah. And then you got pummeled pretty quickly.
your performance roll, and then you got just
and the anatomy
absolutely destroyed by it.
Yeah. Look, lay on the ground. I don't know what was happening there, but we got there. The discussion of anatomy was really interesting. Yes. I didn't know where you were going with that, and so here we go.
Yeah, well, because I mean, obviously, like we don't know slang. So just that thing of like I understand chest.
Right.
If, like, if Asa would have been like, yeah, have you ever been like punched right in the chest? It hurts
Right
really
in the
bad.
sternum.
Yeah, I would have gotten mad
of
because
course.
of course.
Yeah.
But as soon as you say that, I'm like, I
The
don't know what
fourth rib.
Yeah, but it sounds really terrible.
Yeah.
So, but of course I know what that is because I have them. But if you could just tell me what that is,
That
so
is
I don't.
What if you had to
funny.
describe where they are?
Right. That was just really fun. Also, when y'all came out and we're like looking at the sky, it was like there's so many things too that like I consider, and then there are things that I'm like, oh, but I'm not you. I'm not in it with you, and so you guys considering that and reacting as you would was like magical to me.
Yeah, I think we're trying to balance that level of just like it's your first day on Earth
Right.
with keeping the story moving, and sometimes we do it, and other times we spend a significant portion of the episode on an encounter I'm sure you thought would be maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Look, don't worry about it. I will worry about it. But yeah, I did not anticipate for that to be such an important moment, but we did get a lot of character moments out
Yeah.
from it. Like you could tell she did not want to trust you, and as a dungeon master, I also didn't trust that you had something up in your back pocket.
Did you think I was lying about being
I
able
really
to make,
did not
you
want
thought I was
that
just trying to
deer to
make this deer jump to its death?
It's so dark.
It's not outside. It's not outside the purview of these characters.
This is the
so-
kind of prejudice against skeletons that we're just trying to combat in the world. Even the narrator, this omniscient person,
I know. I think
thinks
at
that
one
we're
point,
liars.
just based on your creation of the Crandall Greckleworth character, she's like, you look like the least trustworthy.
That is fair. Crandall is a disgusting person, and I wouldn't trust Crandall.
Yeah. But
Big douche energy.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
very greasy. So I'm curious as well. I want to talk about, obviously, Asa turned out to be much more than just a random traveler with a missing deer. So what do we need to know about the Sundari and the significance? Because we talked a bit about the searing, we talked a bit about the Sundari, and she dropped some major lore points about what seems like it might be perhaps our overarching mission.
I think I'm going to answer this in two ways. One is going to be a little more in-world, where I'm not revealing anything to you all. And then another is going to be a little bit more meta, and just in terms of, and still not going to be revealing anything, but more of just my strategy, if that makes sense. So the first way is that, showing this Asa and Sundari immediately, the strategy was a little bit more like, okay, there's slapstick, there's jokes and everything, and also a real thing is going on. Your questions about the lore in the beginning, it really is a time in this world where people are questioning what our future is and revisiting a really big thing that happened 500 years ago. So that needs to be omnipresent. And while we're all having a really good time, this story does, maybe it'll probably revolve around everyone discussing these matters. And so I wanted to give, kind of almost at the first glance, depending on how this all went, a chance for you all to find a way to make that important to you. And then a little, even just at a higher viewpoint, I know that we have a certain number of episodes. Mm-hmm. And so to have the first two episodes be in a place where you're comfortable and then immediately go out into the world, there's a lot of real estate for time, and then simultaneously it also does not feel like a whole lot of time.
Right.
So to just dump that on you pretty quickly was really important to me. But Asa and the Sundari that she turned into and then disappeared. Well, I don't know how much I want to say about that, other than your experience of it felt complete.
So it would have been bad if I put one in the chest and two in the back.
It would not. No. There's look. I hope you did understand that this person. God, what do I want you to understand? The mortal version was a very mortal version.
Right.
And then the other version was a completely.
There's a transformation that happened.
Yeah,
right,
and arguably not even the same being. I will say that something that you might even have a question about that I'm very happy to answer is the vaunted and the way they work 100%. That is how it works. So if you think like, oh, that was a woman who disappeared and isn't real.
I believed you that she was that this person was part of a faction called the Vaunted, maybe unwillingly or unknowingly a vessel for this Sundari. I just take umbrage with their, we'll do you a favor, but you'll owe us, and you won't know it until it's too late.
It is Godfather stuff.
It is bizarre already to be in episode 2 and be like, okay, so the message, unions are bad, and and like some of these factions that are formed are
unions aren't bad. The Fiends United. Questionable practices.
Yes,
we don't like the management.
It is. I have never played so many stinkers in my life, and it is pretty fun. I gotta be honest, because it's making you guys good guys.
It's real easy to look like good guys when everyone's like, well, yeah, no, we just like, we go to your place and then we tell you, hey, like if you would like your place of business to remain good, later we're gonna need a favor, and then if they say no, maybe we bring bats.
We'll start our own Vaunted style protection racket, just you wait.
Yeah, what was it like though, Dan, to get like a peek into perhaps a deeper meaning of Fibs?
I mean, it was extremely cool because this is something that you and I discussed on a very like high level, and I wanted to leave it intentionally like, oh, Fibs does not know who he was before his life in the dungeon, before his life in Unzug's employ. Like he woke up in the Skeleton War and he's like, oh boy, another day in paradise. And to get a glimpse behind, like, I guess a glimpse in front of the bones in this case, it was really cool to be like, oh, what was Fibs' life? Because it feels like a mystery that I get to try and solve as well, and I love that as a player. And I'm just really excited to learn more about what his connection was to the Sundari, and like, was it Asa who knew him? Was it the Sundari who knew him? Why was he like swinging through like this forest hunting someone for sport? Like I have so many questions, and like it's going to be like trying to reconcile that with Fibs' innate desire for knowledge, and just also the kind of staggering existential implications of my life is not what I thought it to be. It's going to be very fun to unpack as a player, and like also a cool thing to try and balance with the more comedic tone, which like I really love when we get to goof around and be idiots. But it is nice to have that sort of like full stop, like, oh no, this is something serious, and like this is going to affect the core of my being, and how do I reconcile that?
Yeah. I that makes me really happy, but. On my end, just even describing that was, there were so many choices made that were like, I revealed this, but not this but not this. So you still don't, the main thing was like, I don't want you to know your race yet. And that's difficult. Let me just tell you, because there's part of you, I'll use, what race? I'll use like, Furbolg, because you're not a Furbolg, but like you, but like you want to just be like, oh, and you're Furbolgian fur, you want to use that, like, and your limbs are doing this, and like I see it, and it's like it's a weird thing to have to describe.
It's going to be GeoGuessr for my body.
Speaking of GeoGuessr, Flat Earth, we have confirmed it. Flat Earth
confirmed. The truth is out, people. Wake up.
Busy. What was it? Sorry, not busy. Tippy, what was it like to be weirdly domed? Which was a choice.
I mean, that's just any old day in a goblin's life. You know what I mean? Just constantly domed by something. I mean, that couldn't have gone. I think for comedic timing, that couldn't have gone better. Failing the dice roll, crit failing, you disarming me.
Disarmed
completely.
Me coming in hot, immediately being disarmed and then shoved into the dirt is hilarious.
And then you missing the Sundari transformation.
Completely missing this magical lore.
You didn't see the deer fly either?
I saw none of it.
No.
Tippy saw none of it, so it doesn't really understand.
I hope something cool's not happening. It'll make me reevaluate my faith.
I do think there are some things going on now in Tippy like that did affect him, right? Like he wasn't fast enough to do
that was a
something.
clutch moment.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll be faster next time, and he took it so personally. personally.
He
like,
took it really personally because he wanted to just protect his friends, and I
wanted
feel
to
like
be a savior,
that's
yeah.
a bit of a failure for him. So we'll see what happens next.
It made
time.
me, it made me, yeah, like full on like puppy lips, like, oh no.
Yeah, and then wrapping that into like Tippy's fear, like being the thing that's like, it's not just that like you know, Tippy lost the crossbow because Tippy's so sweaty and like drenched because Tippy is so terrified of like this moment that like he can't hold on to a crossbow.
Yeah.
And so like Tippy now having to deal with like, okay, two things I know, gotta be faster. Maybe eventually I'll work on the not being such a huge coward thing.
Yes, 100%.
Or you can build Tippy's Grippies, gloves that
Tippy's
are anti-sweat.
Let me see if I have enough infusion slots for that.
I'm so happy that none of y'all have said Gobby Knop this whole time.
No,
we gotta come back.
We gotta
Gobby
save
Knop
it
is
for the
coming
right moment. We'll have a
back.
sidebar about it. It'll come up then. I also want to talk about our approach to Knack Breer rules.
Knack Breer rules.
Oh my
Amy,
God.
what was your?
What was that?
Was it your intention to spawn an instant catchphrase that we would run into the ground?
Oh my God. So part of like when you've got a settlement or a town and it's just like off the beaten path, you want one or two or three things that you can just sink your teeth into, like, got it, this is kind of the vibe. A lot of it has to do with, we can't do everything without getting punished. And so you just want to set what that is. And in my head, that just means like, oh yeah, there's going to be monsters whose innate instinct is to literally eat everything. Oozes or monster, they just are like, they're dumb monsters. But in this world, some of the monsters aren't dumb. And I was like, grr. So I was just like, great. And no one can eat each other just based off of hunger. Beyond that, we have some plays of like, we even got into it of like, whose overlord is better and fight over that maybe. Or we've got some like, it's just some internal ranking systems or just internal disputes. So anyway, that was just a way for me to just go, there are rules here. That's it. And then
What type of rules would you say they are?
What do you mean?
Like if you had to describe like a word in front of rules, like to describe what kind of rules they are, what would you use?
What would they be?
Like maybe like something like geographically places it in terms of like
what's the name of the rules?
Rules from where? Rules from what place, maybe?
They're like, Knack Breer rules.
Yeah, Knack Breer rules.
Of course, thank you. I was just curious.
This will. I need you to know that.
Corpsing Amy's never gonna get old.
This will never go away. I hope you understand.
I was just trying to say a sentence, and the sentence, it did begin with Knack Breer rules.
Knack Breer rules.
Let me do it, and this is, R.I.P. me for sure.
That was a special moment, just watching you lose it.
Every time.
I also like the instant buy-in from the entire party.
Yes,
we all have to just do this.
And then, oh man, but this place is. I mean, we haven't even begun to see what it can do, but it is a really fun place. This is one of the first thoughts I had as far as like planning out some geographical moments because obviously you're going to go into the world and be prejudiced against, and there's also got to be a safe haven, right? In this world, we do have monsters that are being displaced from their dungeons and lairs and stuff. So where do they go? And that is almost dungeon-like, but they can find a new job or whatever. Like we're just yes-anding the fact that these minions have agency, which means that other minions have agency. So what does that look like? And especially with the art, I think we just really got a really fun location.
Yeah, the team at Distoli Digital did a fantastic job building that art for us, and it was cool because a lot of this we are doing theater of the mind, and like it's cool to see my image get like rebuilt in real time, and then to see like the artwork that they've built be like, oh, awesome! Like this is really cool to see. And then the scene changes in my head in a very cool and exciting way and just grounds me in this new space.
Yeah, for sure. I want to go back a little bit because it did strike me as like, well, like we should play this. And it just happened organically, which is like, okay, just, handling basic needs, food, sleep, who does this, who doesn't, what do you eat, all this stuff was like just really fun, really simple and really fun to see like what y'all's take on it was, which I think those kinds of things 100% should be built as a group, as opposed to
Right.
like, oh, we plan it out ahead of time and this is what I do. It's like in the moment, what does that look like? And I definitely think it is Tippy foraging for his own food, and the other one's, rooting him
Still
along.
trying to share.
We'll help you. Our team effort to
Kidnap a bat.
I
To
can't believe it
seduce
works.
or kill a
I
bat.
can't believe it
Seduce
works.
or kill a bat. I think that is our
Yeah,
overall
the old
vibe.
snack widow maneuver.
Amazing.
Well, especially with Tippy being like poisoned, it's also like, yeah, like
Yeah.
shoot, like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave you disadvantage. I said, oh,
I
you
did
get
roll disadvantage on that,
but then
yeah.
it was like, oh no, but you just have disadvantage because you're
Yeah.
poisoned.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah.
So we have to
I'm
just.
glad it's gone.
It's a
right?
horrible
Otherwise, we have to
condition.
keep trying to give you advantage so you can just do a straight roll.
I know. Shout out to Angelina.
Yeah, it's a horrible condition that y'all just won't ever have to deal with.
Imagine if we were like, you know what, we're going to save a little money. You have to vomit for 10 hours.
I was fully prepared.
I know.
I was like, here we go.
And we'd have to record that in real time.
For
just
sure.
Oh my God, yeah.
veracity's sake.
For sure.
Just speed it through like a tiny bit.
I like that. I like that your crown is coming into play. Just like some flavor text that,
Yeah, I don't want to, because I think it's like, I want the items that I have to be like functional, like they have like a reason.
Yeah,
to,
for sure.
to have them, and like things that I can do with them and ways that I can play with them. It's the same thing with like my bone body. Like I want there to be specific bone things I can do.
say bone body again.
Yeah.
Bone body.
I like the interplay of your guys' bone body. A little jaw drop action, a little
Yeah,
hand
it was
going.
nice.
Yeah, yeah, y'all are pals. The bone body made me think of Loof, who is like almost. She's turning into, I mean, strategically, like my saving grace of like giving any sort of guidance or moving the story along. But she's also like turning into someone, which is interesting. So yeah, what is it like to have a source of a being just inside of you?
It's cool because she is a child, she's
Spider baby.
a spider baby who's experiencing everything for the first time, and her first instinct is like, yeah, I guess I just perpetuate terror and love malice and mayhem, because that's the environment in which I was raised for however long she had been raised.
Yes, her generational trauma rings true.
We had a deep moment. Loof said, I love you to Tippy. I don't think Tippy's ever heard that ever in his life.
Yeah, in fact, you shut her down immediately.
Yeah,
but
he
then
can't process.
Later on, you did say, of course, Loof.
Yes.
She actually heard that.
Yeah.
Unky Tippy.
Okay, Tippy, yeah.
Who's the unky?
I know. We all hate it, and I will be. That's my reign of terror.
Right.
It's weird
That's
ass baby talk right in your ears.
Inside of my
If
skull.
it's coming from a baby spider, I think I'm cool with that. Yeah.
Canonically cool with it.
Yeah, canonically.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like. I don't want to forget to interact with Loof. That's always something
Yes.
that's like I don't want Loof to just be like, oh,
Right.
you're just an item on my character sheet. Like I appreciate that Loof confers bonuses because it's like the daughter of my best friend who perished horribly in the very first episode.
Yes.
Which I'm definitely over and not at all sad about.
No.
No, but it's nice to be like, okay, having these moments with her, but not in a way that's just like stealing the spotlight, or like she comes in at the right moments, even though she's just like along for the ride for all of it.
Yeah, and she is a face spider, so we can just expect that she'll grow.
Yes.
At some point.
Just bursts out of my body. It's going to be
Yeah.
Chest burst.
Yes.
Ribs akimbo.
that'll be a fun way to open an encounter at some point. All right, say hello to my niece.
Yeah. Roll a Constitution
Yeah.
saving throw. Welcome back to Sagas of Sundry Goblin Mode. We're gonna open with Fibs. You're gonna roll a Constitution saving.
Yeah. How
the
strong is
spider.
your solar plexus?
Launch the spider!
Yeah. No, it's exciting. And I like that, I just like all the different characters and creatures and weirdos that we're meeting, even ones who are morally objectionable, like Zog.
Zog. Oh yeah, Zog. What do you think about? Well, yeah. What is your interpretation of there being? I love that you're so loyal to Unzug. Like there's no.
Yeah.
That's my hometown.
Yeah. Where do you think the characters will go with the information? Because I remember last episode you were like, "There's more than one evil overlord."
I think it's going to give us a real eventual like crisis of like conscience, crisis of faith in terms of like, oh, like we're slowly learning like everyone's implying that dungeon dollars were a mean to take advantage of us and like keep us subjugated. And we're like, we had a really great existence. Like, why are you all over our life? And it's going to be a cool challenge from like a role-playing perspective to reckon with that, especially as we learn more about all of these other evil overlords and like, was he even at the top of the ranking? We'll have to find out.
And that there is a ranking?
Yeah.
Like who's in charge of that?
Definitely some upsetting news that we'll have to deal with. And I look forward to seeing what other horrifying existential crises that you thrust us into next time, Amy. And folks, you can find out exactly how we're going to see our lives fall apart on a brand new episode of Sagas of Sundry Goblin Mode each and every week on Geek Sundry and wherever fine podcasts are served. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.